Well, Brigitte, I have to say, you make me feel like an Irish leprechaun. How tall are you, just for the record?
Well, without these heels on, about 6 feet tall.
And you actually don't shy away from the high heels either, do you?
It's not too high tonight. Well, usually not, no.
As a matter of interest, when you were at school, I mean, you know, 12, 13, were you getting very, very tall then as well?
Yeah, I would say I'd reached 6 feet around the age of 13. I was feeling extremely uncomfortable about it because some of my teachers weren't even as tall as I was, so I went through a couple of hard years in school.
You could bash the teachers like that, could you? Did that make, though, for some difficulties with your boyfriends?
I didn't have any boyfriends when I was 13, but it did make difficulties because when I went out dancing, a young boy would come over and say, "Would you like to dance?" and had all the confidence in the world. And when I stood up, his face was white. Kind of sucky, but I always remembered one thing my mom and dad taught me, said they always will look up to you, and you can just be honored by that.
And they're mostly still doing that, of course.
Well, I guess so. When I have 3 or 4 inch heels, definitely yes.
I did an interview a few years back with Sylvester Stallone, and I actually thought he had a bit of a complex about his height.
At times, yes. I think what happens is that he comes across maybe a lot taller on screen. Poor me. And people imagine him, and then when they meet him, they are maybe not disappointed, but just shocked that he's not bigger than he is.
So how much smaller than you was he? Many inches smaller?
I would say he's 5'8".
Quite a bit.
5'8", yeah.
Well, now listen, we must talk about your new film, because you're making it for London Weekend Television, Murder on the Moon.
Murder on the Moon, that's
which
correct.
is very futuristic. So how will you look? What kind of role is that going to be?
It's about a space station on the moon, obviously, and a murder has taken place in America. Not in America, a man has died, and the Russians and the Americans has come in to investigate exactly what has happened and put the puzzle together. And I am, in this case, thank God, the American lieutenant, not the Russian usually.
But in this role, I mean, is there anything that you will draw on from your own life? Have you any similarities between you and this sexy villain on screen?
What she does, her experiences, she's been 3 times married and divorced. She's been burned a lot. So her attitude is very confident. She's very independent. And because of they come from such 2 different cultures, she uses tremendous sarcasm to win. And I think I've been there a couple of times.
What do you mean, you've become a little bit more hardened since your divorce?
No, not in the sense of hard, but just independent and conscious of what goes on. People do call me hard and cold, but I believe that when you go through an experience, you mature and you learn, and that's good.
You seem to have recently developed a great style of work, a great breadth of work, even to the extent of singing weekly on Italian television. So what was that show?
That was a variety show, and I co-hosted that with a gentleman called Pipo Baudo for Canale 5. And it was lots of fun because I got to sing, to dance, to interview people. It was a good experience for me to be out there with millions of people and have to take that work in my hand, and I got a lot of success and had some good fun with it.
Have you always been a singer?
I was working in the church choir for 10 years. Really has nothing to do with anything with the music that I did, but yeah, I learned how to sing correct. You sing with your stomach, you breathe with your stomach. You know, little tips here and there, but sure, it took a drastic change. And when I did go to the studio for the first time, I was 100% amateur with red ears because I was so nervous and the voice wouldn't come out, and I went, oh my God, but it worked out and it was a lot of fun.
Now, obviously, we only have to look at a video like that to realise that you're a very beautiful girl anyway.
Thank you. Why
did you feel you had to have cosmetic surgery?
Cosmetic surgery in what sense?
Well, across here.
It's, no, because what was written in the London Sun, for example, was that I had a facelift. I had my ears done, I had my nose done, which is absolutely untrue. I used to not want to talk about it because people made it negative. And really what it is for women, it's a very positive thing that can make you very, very happy. And what happened to me personally was when I got pregnant and had my son, I developed too many female hormones. And this part my, behind here of my scalp started growing. And I had milk in my breast 6 months prior to Julian was born, which is very bad for you, and started an infection. Anyway, to make a long story short, I was miserable, I looked terrible, and I had a couple of large milk glands in my breast. And I lived in Denmark, and I came to America, and every woman I met had these beautiful breasts and had no problem. And they said, well, look, I did so and so and so, and I went to see a doctor. And I said, can you help me? And he said, certainly, and that's what I did.
So no regrets having them done?
Absolutely not. Yeah. I'm a lot happier now than I was then.
Yeah. No chance of them exploding in Concord or anything like that?
It has happened.
I know it has. That's why
happened.
I was worried for you.
No, I have been very lucky, I guess, and I'm doing fine. And no.
You see, of course, you mentioned what's written in the press, and what was written in the press here was that Sylvester Stallone wanted you to be the perfect woman, and so therefore he encouraged you to have it done.
No, I think a man can tell you so many things, but when you let a doctor take a scalp and cut in your body, you must really think if you really want to do that, you know. And you got to think it over, and if that's what you do, that's really your own personal opinion and decision.
Is it true that you really set out to catch Sylvester Stallone, that you really set out to meet him?
Very true.
So what did you do?
Very simple. Get your pens and your pads out.
I'm watching.
No, I've always believed if you're determined in something and you go with it 100% and you're being honest about it, you might be lucky. And what has happened is I had finished Red Sonja, and I was in New York, and a gentleman came up to me, why, I don't know, and said Sylvester Stallone was in town. I said, brilliant, I'm going to go and talk to him. And he says, oh no, you can't do that. You don't know where he's staying, you don't know nothing. And I said, listen, give me the number, okay? Don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And he gave me the number, and I called the hotel. And the lady says, look, there's 3, 4 people in the line. Would you like to hold? And I said, yes. And I was holding and holding, nothing happened. And I called, I must have left a good 10 to 15 messages a day. And of course, why would he want to talk to me? In the end, I sent him a picture and a letter, and I explained that I just finished my first film, and I would like to talk to him. And that was the end, and I went back, and the phone rang, and he says, this is Sylvester Stallone. I said, well, great. I said, how are you doing? And he says, why did you do that? And I said, to be quite honest, I just would like to talk to you. And he came over, and we talked, and he left his number. And then he called, and he says, why don't you come for dinner? And I came for dinner, and one thing led to the other.
I must ask you, did he really give you $1,000 a day to spend?
No.
This is a great disappointment to me.
No, there's a lot of things that people would like to think and like to read.
Actually, how did you cope with the tabloid press? Because they really have said everything about you. They've talked about your so-called affairs. They've even suggested at one point you were lesbian. They've talked about so-called pregnancies, so-called miscarriages. Very hurtful, I should think.
No, not really. In the beginning it was, but you get thick skin after a while, and the only thing you really can do is to remember who you are and appreciate that and make it better. And every time you do an interview or you're talking to people, make a move, you just have to be as honest with it as you can. But it is very, very hard to change an image that other people that don't know you have given you. So really what I've done is just surround me with people that love me for who I am, and hope that I can convince the people that goes to see my movies that I'm not as bad as they think I am.
Well, you're being very convincing tonight. And I just must ask you, are you happy these days with Mark Gastineau?
I'm happier than I've ever been. I love him more than anything in the world.
Hey, this is good news.
I really do.